Hi, welcome to Riders of a Certain Age presents Conversations Beyond the Barn. I'm your host, Fran Severn. Each Tuesday, I chat with people whose lives center around horses in unusual, unexpected ways. These are people who create the richness and variety of the equine world with their fascinating careers, hobbies, and livelihoods. Their stories show their passion for horses and the equine world, and it is a treat for me to share them with you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's Conversations Beyond the Barn. Welcome to this week's edition of Conversations Beyond the Barn. I'm your host, Fran Severn. Cowboy Mounted Shooting. Just that name sparks imagination. It's that scene from a Western movie with the rider galloping towards the bad guys, firing his weapon with a lot of flash and noise. Think John Wayne in True Grit, right? One of the classic movie scenes. Now, I was not aware that mounted shooting even existed as a sport, but it is well established and rapidly growing in popularity. My guest today is Cindy Stavely. She competes in the senior ladies division, and that's for ladies 50 and older, which I don't think of as particularly senior. She lives in St. Augustine, Florida, and competes at shooting meets throughout the Southeast. You told me that this weekend was a big weekend for you.
Yeah, we just had our Florida club is called the Florida Peacemakers,
Huh?
and we had our annual state championship match in Lady Lake, Florida, which is near the Villages. If anybody's ever heard of the Villages in
Yeah.
Central Florida, not too far from Ocala. And yeah, we had about 80 competitors come from,
Wow.
Georgia, Florida, some from Louisiana, southeastern region. We had people come through and it was great. The weather was amazing. It was a beautiful, warm spring-like day in Lady Lake, and it was so much fun. And like I was telling you earlier, I came within 1 second of being the senior ladies four
Sure.
state champion. But that's
Oh,
okay because
well,
my dear friend Julie, she won, and I'm happy for her too. So
that's great. That's great. Okay, cowboy mounted shooting. In the normal equestrian world, the competitions are hunter jumper and Tennessee walkers and dressage, and for Western riders, barrel racing. But mounted shooting is very, very different. So, for those of us who are unfamiliar, what do you do in cowboy mounted shooting?
okay, so you have a pattern.
Hmm.
There's actually over 100 different patterns that we use to compete. You typically have 3 to 4 patterns that you run per day. If it's a big match, maybe five that's spread out over a few days. If it's a big national match, like a national championship. Um, so you've got 5 balloons of one color, 5 balloons of another in the pattern, and your goal is to ride the pattern and shoot the first 5 balloons with our single action 45 revolvers, kind of like the old Colt 45s that you see in the Western movies, like you see John Wayne riding around shooting, but we're using blanks in them. We're not using live ammo. So we load these blanks with enough black powder to pop a balloon up to about 15, 20 feet. So there's no danger in any spectators or horses or people getting actual shot with a bullet. But you certainly don't want to get too close to the spray coming out either, because I've actually shot myself in the leg before, and I do
Oh,
know that it doesn't go without a little bit of black powder going in under your skin and staying there for a while. And
yeah,
a nice little burn to go with it. So you
yeah.
don't want to do that. But the goal is to shoot those first 5 balloons. You have a holster with you have a belt with 2 holsters in it. So you shoot the first 5 and then you holster the one, and you could be going around a barrel or going around a turn, and you're pulling out the other one as quick as you can to shoot the last 5 balloons in there. And hopefully you can show some video at the end or something if you have some files on there so people can actually see what a really good run looks like up close and personal.
Well,
But
you,
that's
you,
the goal is to go as fast as you can. And of course, you're penalized if you miss a balloon. If you miss a balloon, they add 5 seconds to your time. Or if you knock over a gate pole, or if you knock over the barrel, But what makes it really fun is it's not just like barrel racing where you're doing the same exact pattern every time. Every day you go in, you're not really sure what the patterns are going to be. So you go up to the bulletin board and you check and see what patterns you're going to run. And you're like, everybody's standing around, with their fingers going like, well, I would do it this way and I would do it that way. And so it's a great meeting of the minds. Everybody helps each other. Everybody helps the beginners help figure out the best way to run the pattern. Everybody videos each other doing their pattern. So it's really fun. I mean, and just
So
the
so
fact that
it's competitive, but it's also cooperative. You're in it more for fun than
very
for the ribbons and the glory.
exact, it's everybody in Cowboy Mounted Shooting. I don't care where you're from in the whole country, any place I've ever been, everybody embraces all the newcomers. Everybody takes care of each other. You can have a competitor in one class that their guns might have broken or something, or their horse goes lame. And so a competitor that could be even in the same class, they'll like, hey, you can use my guns, or you can ride
Yeah.
my horse. We'll just switch saddles or whatever. Everybody steps in to help each other to be the
So
best that they can be.
so how did this get started? How did this start as a sport?
Well, it started out about 30 years ago.
That long?
Yeah,
Wow.
but it very small, just like a group of guys out in Arizona just decided to set up some targets and start shooting guns off of their horses. It wasn't organized then, but eventually, Jim Rogers he started CMSA, which stands for Cowboy Mounted Shooting of America, and started this organization. And then throughout the last 30 years, it's spread and grown, and clubs are popped up everywhere in practically every region of the United States now and in Canada.
So how does somebody get into this? You just show up at a meet with a six shooter and say, "Let's go."
The best way to do it is to go on that Cowboy Mounted Shooting, the CMSAevents.org website.
That will be on the program notes so people can find it.
Right. And go on there and see what clubs are in your region and contact the officers of those clubs, and they will point you in the direction of the best trainer in your area if you want to do that, or if there's any clinics going on, or to just come to a match, bring your horse, desensitize it to the gunshots going around, because a lot of people will just bring their horse and let them stand by the arena and watch and see all the activity and hear all the noises and the smells, because sometimes it's not just the guns, it's the smoke coming out of the guns, or it's the balloons shaking in the wind, or it's the balloon setters set up on the side of the arena. So there's a lot for the horses to get used to. There's a lot of desensitization required to start a new
What?
horse into it.
Okay. What about the riders training? How is a new rider trained to do this?
Well, you start off slow.
Hmm.
And you might want to just start off walking through a course and shooting. And then, I mean, if it's a person that's used to competing in an arena, then, like barrel racing, it's they're going to have the ability to be handy enough to handle all those maneuvers. If not, it's just you start out slow and you work your way up. I mean, when I started, I went barely at a trot. And to be perfectly honest, I'm never going to be blazing fast because I'm 68 years old and I don't want to fall off and get hurt at my age. So,
Good idea. So,
um,
with many disciplines, there's a dress code. Dressage, you have to be in the white breeches. Whoever thought white breeches and horses went together, but that's another story. And then hunter jumper has their code. If you're in the standardbred or the walkers, you have the long morning coat kind of things. Is there a dress code for mounted shooting? And in many sports, it's men and women compete equally. Is this gender specific, the competitions?
it is
So
gender
dress code and
specific.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it is gender specific. The men and the women do not compete against each other except for in cavalry. There's a cavalry class where everybody dresses in old cavalry uniforms,
Cool.
and they have to use special holsters, and they do compete against each other in there. However, for everything else, whether it be pistols, or there's also two classes where you shoot rifle or shotgun. So you shoot the first 5 balloons with a pistol, and then you put your pistol away, and then you pull out a long gun and shoot the balloons with either a rifle or a shotgun. Those are also gender split. And then you've got so you've got ones through sixes men's, what regular, and 1 through 6 men's seniors. And then you've got 1 through 6 ladies and 1 through 6 senior ladies. So that's how it works. And then we also have a Wrangler class for children up to through the age of 12 that ride the courses, and they don't actually shoot until they're in their 12th year, going on to 13.
Okay, so
And
up until then,
then,
they're just riding the course.
right. So for what you wear for attire, they kind of like wanted to pattern it after the Old West. Um, Throughout the years, the dress has modernized some. So the requirement for men and women generally is, of course, a long sleeve button down shirt with the button at the cuffs, um, a hat or a helmet. You can either wear a hat or a helmet, jeans, and chinks or chaps. So that is the requirement for men and women. However, women can also wear long skirts, corsets, either Old West or just long skirts, the kind of like the barmaid kind of look,
Yeah.
or you can go either old fashioned prairie look, or you can go, a little bit more body with the corsets and all of that. I do a little bit of both. I don't like wearing the long sleeve and the long pants and the chinks and a belt. So I always wear a skirt and a nice shirt to go with it or something.
So what
It's
about the
fun. That makes
horses?
it really
Yeah,
fun because,
you have already sent me some video and I've looked it up. It just
yeah,
it's like a blast just to go, even if you're a spectator. So
just to
what
get
about
dressed up is fun, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. What about the horses? Does the breed matter, or is there one breed that's more popular?
We
And
have
how do you teach the horses?
Um, well, you can either I mean, there's a lot of trainers that train mounted shooting horses. Um, so you can either buy a horse that's, already been doing it for a seasoned mounted shooting horse, or you can buy a horse that you think would be good at it. Typically, quarter horses, I would say, are about 80, 90, probably 90% of the breed that's used, but that's not to say that other breeds are not used. We have walking horses in our club. We've had Arabians, we have Gypsy Vanners, we have Pasafinos. So you'll see a little bit of everything out there, but the majority are quarter horses because they've got that ability to maneuver. They're a little, they have a little bit some calmer minds, a lot of them. A lot of people would use cowbred horses or cutting horses because they've got
Sure.
that cattiness to them to make those sharp turns and the maneuvering that you have to do to make your way through these patterns. But, I have seen walking horses and larger horses and even some thoroughbreds make their way through quite well. They just aren't as agile, but they've got the longer strides that help them with the speed in between.
Sure. Yeah, that would make sense. So, you mentioned that this was a long weekend with what you just had, the big competition. Are most competitions like that, or are they more like one days? Do people trailer in? What is
Um,
a competition like?
Most competitions are at least 2 days. Because if people are going to travel, they want to make it worth their while, and a lot of people do travel, and so you get two separate matches and 2 separate days for most times. The big competitions, the national competitions, there's 4 major competitions every year, and they're pretty much a week long of competition.
Wow.
So you've got like a local regional one that they'll start the week off for a warm up, and then they'll have like a 4 day um, major championship where there's um, showcases, at night where they do showcases for like eliminator finals, and it's a little bit more than just a regular match where you come in one day you'll do 4 stages, and then the next day you'll do 4 stages, and then that's it for the local matches. But the big matches are definitely a little bit more robust and longer and more things going on, and usually have about 300 or more, 300, about 350 people attend those.
Wow. Wow. I didn't
And
realize it was
and
that
people come
large.
up and they stay in their RVs, or people that live within driving distance, they'll drive in just for the day and then come back the next day because they might only live about half hour away. But typically I come in on Fridays. Everybody comes in on Fridays. You get your stalls set up, your RVs set up. chill, relax, hang out with everybody. A lot of times, a bunch of people go out to eat together, or we'll do potlucks at the arena, and just hang out and be with our friends that we
Yeah.
only see once a month. So
You emphasized that this is a really family friendly thing. I come from different parts of the horse world where the competition is the competition. Even if it's a weekend, you're doing your competition. You may say hi to other people, but there's not. You said it was almost like getting together and just having a camping weekend with your friends, in part because it is so family friendly. And I think that really does make a difference as well.
Um, yeah, I mean, and the fact that all these kids are there doing the Wrangler makes it really nice because you've got multi-generational. I mean, I've been there with myself, my daughter, and my grandkids all competing in one competition. And so it's really fun to watch all these youngins, run around and play around in the arena afterwards during awards. They'll be out there running around doing gymnastics, playing, and even everybody's dogs come and play with each other while they're there. But we're definitely family. I've got lifelong friends that I know will be lifelong friends forever, and also not just in Florida, but because we have traveled around, people from all over the United States that we've become close with.
So you said, obviously you're in Florida, so that's a center. And you mentioned Arizona, that's another big center. Is there anything like in the Northwest? I have not heard anything up in the New England area, or is that just kind of still a
I think
Southern
there's a club.
Mid-Atlantic thing?
I think there's a club in New York. I think
That would
that's
make
as
sense.
far north as it goes. But I think people from New England do travel down to New York to compete. Pennsylvania has a good club. Obviously, Maryland has a club with with Jesse and Rob,
Yeah.
and North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida. I mean, there's almost a club in Ohio has four clubs, Indiana has clubs. So, yeah, and then going out west, of course, there's a lot of clubs out there, California, Colorado, Idaho, Utah, they all have clubs out that way. So, it's definitely spread out across the United States, which makes it interesting because if you are willing and able to travel, there's always a big shoot like in Las Vegas every summer that people will
Oh,
go
wow.
to, and then a winter classic that they just had last weekend in Arizona. So even the people that live out in the cold regions out there can travel to Arizona at least to be able to do one match during the winter in Arizona.
Yeah, it's I attend a lot of the horse expos, the Equine Affair in Ohio and Massachusetts, and the Horse World Expos coming up in a few weeks in Ohio, and then there's another one down in Tennessee. And I've noticed that a couple of them they're now starting to do demos of this so that the word spreads because it's great. You mentioned Jessica Flores, who lived near where I used to be. She was one of the beta readers of Riders of a Certain Age. And she said that her daughter, who I think at the time was 9 or 10, has started to go along. Oh, mom, can I come along? And now her daughter is now competing.
Oh, she's
And
doing
that's,
great.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
she's
that's
been
when I
really
became
good.
aware of how much of a family oriented sport this is. Because
Mhm.
most equine sports, they're really not. It's the competitor. You may compete as a kid, compete as an adult, but that family sense isn't there. This is somewhat unique.
Yes, and a lot of times both husband and wife do it. My husband doesn't ride, but he's there. He drives us there. He takes does he's the videographer for everybody, um and then of course my grandkids and daughter. So and it's like that with it's very there's only a few people that come with just that one person. It's usually the whole family's coming, the kids are doing Wrangler, or even if they're not riding, they're still there and hanging out with
Sure.
everybody.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. Okay, I'm going to let everybody know that in the program notes, I will have the cmsaevents.com up there so they can find you. And I thank you for taking the time and good luck on all your competitions. Keep having fun.
Always, always so much fun. Love it. Thank you, Fran. It was great talking to you and
Thank
great to
you.
meet you. We'll have to keep in touch.
Absolutely. Thanks.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of Riders of a Certain Age presents Conversations Beyond the Barn. If you enjoy it, subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Please leave a comment and suggestions for future shows, guests, topics, interesting equine activities. I'd love to hear about them, so would everybody else. And while you're at it, you can support the podcast by buymeacoffee.com/certainage. Support Conversations Beyond the Barn. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week.